are the cap for whatever goes on in your store, in your company, in your district, in your household. However excited you are, what you believe is possible, whatever that threshold is.
Hey team, welcome to the Charge Forward podcast. I'm your host, Jim Cripps, coming to you from Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Now I've got a special event for you today. I have two ladies that are in the building space. They're doing something different. They're doing something special for their clients, and I think that more builders can learn from what they are doing. So I've got home front builders here in the studio with me today, Miss Carissa Ockey and Miss Amber Wotring. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Excellent, excellent. Now, what I think makes you ladies special is, one, you really have a passion for how the design matters to how the house works as a unit, how it benefits the family. But also you're bringing some pizzazz, some higher end touches, but really kind of in that same price point that people would normally expect from a well-built, nice spec home. So tell me a little bit how you came up with this idea and really how it took shape.
So I think that the biggest thing for us was we've seen what's in the market now, and we just kind of thought, well, we can do that better. Let's do something a little bit more elevated, a little bit more thoughtful, and just really offer people a better option. So that was kind of the inspiration, is that we felt that the families that we serve deserve something more.
Yeah. Well, and you've got firsthand experience because you've got a growing family.
I do.
in how that works. So I guess what are some of the most important pieces to you as somebody that lives in a home with a growing family? What are the key features and how did that kind of take shape in what you all build?
So basically, I think, when you're trying to build homes that are going to accommodate all different kind of setups, like, couples, families, growing families, that's where a big gap in the market where we are in Clarksville exists, because the homes don't have pantries, they don't have mudrooms, they don't have all of these spaces that really help you get organized and live a better life, honestly, with small kids, with bigger kids, or even just two people. You want to have that pantry space. You want to be able to drop all of your stuff off before you come into the main part of the house. So we just really wanted to create that space.
Well, and I think because it's a military town and because the real estate market has been good for so long, I think it has allowed that type of stuff to slide, in that you've got turnover because you've got people that PCS out and go to other duty stations. A lot of times they keep them as rentals or they sell them. And so they're not looking long term as to what this home means to them. It is a place to reside. And I think that's one of the big things that I see y'all doing. And I almost think that it really plays into where you're building at. Because if you look, you are predominantly south of Clarksville and north of Nashville, kind of in that space, where a lot of people that retire from the military or think that this might be their last duty station, that's where they want to live.
Exactly. And that's why we find it so important to consider these things and really, build a long-lasting, sustainable home.
Yeah. What do you find is kind of the sweet spot for, where the buyer kind of starts giving input? I know you guys have done an amazing job, and I don't take this lightly in that, for builders, for a lot of them, the faster we can get it up, the better. And that may mean they go ahead and do everything. Or they'll hold off on carpet and a couple touches, and that's what they get to pick. Now, you ladies are letting people design quite a bit, but it also means that you kind of have to stall the construction, which costs you money, but I think it builds your brand. And so I guess what is that sweet spot where you're like, man, it's great when somebody can jump in at this point?
Yeah, right now we are kind of focusing on doing two separate types of projects. We're doing spec homes where there's really no room for anyone to jump in, but I'm an interior designer, so all of our selections are chosen with that in mind, chosen with forward trends, but also, where it's not so trendy, you're going to have to tear stuff out in 5 years. And then we're also allowing people to do, we're kind of calling it semi-custom, but really it is pretty custom home, where you can pick your floor plan. We can make changes to that. And then you also get to pick your selections. And we get to kind of walk hand in hand through that process, which is super fun as well. And in the future, we hope to do some where, we get to framing and then maybe someone comes in and purchases and they get to make some of their selections. The problem is where you would cut off that selection date is, before cabinets, but those need to be ordered 4 weeks in advance. We've had situations ever since COVID where there is a little bit of a delay in the order process.
Oh yeah. And you never know quite where that's going to be. I think I shared with you when you stopped by the house is when we were building, the doors were 11 months behind. And so the first 5 months we lived in the home, we did not have doors, any doors on the inside of the house. And then when they came in, all the bathroom doors came in glass.
You're like, great, the ones we don't want glass on. Thank you.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that can happen through the process. And, I think that's one of the things that it makes y'all special with 30 years of combined experience in the home building space, both on the design side as well as, construction and making sure that people are happy with them. Now, Amber, I know your background is a bit different. You came in from the design side, correct?
Yes. So I started out right out of high school, going into college, doing strictly design and floor plans for other builders. And that was in Florida. And then once I moved to Tennessee a few years later is when I got into the building side of it also. So for the past 15 years, I've been doing the design side and the building side.
That's great. And that gives you a really kind of a look behind the curtain as to how it all comes together and how important having a quality design takes some of the guesswork or the aggravation out of the actual construction.
Yes, because one thing that it's hard is that most builders don't have a design background. Mm-hmm. And so when they're putting up floor plans, they're doing it for strictly profit. And, what works in their mind, not necessarily what works for actual families or people. And so now that we've got two women who are designing the homes that are going to fit your needs. Plus I have the mindset of the builder side because designers don't care about profits. Builders only care about profits. So we kind of have the best of both worlds right now that we're putting together and knowing where we can push our limits.
Well, I think it's that experience and that collaborative nature between the two of you because you're more black and white and Carissa is obviously more passion driven. And kind of you hold each other accountable.
Yes,
absolutely.
And it's really kind of how you started the company, right? So the two of you worked together before, mm-hmm. and after that relationship had run its course, you were trying to figure out what the next steps were. And I think both of you probably ran into a little bit of a situation where you were overqualified for a lot of the mm-hmm. roles out there.
Yeah,
right.
And
exactly.
So I think Carissa was the one that finally said the words out loud that you needed to hear was, why don't we do this on our own?
Mm-hmm.
And so how did that go?
Well, I was being asked that question everywhere that I went, everywhere that I had tried to, get in with other builders or other companies, trying to find my new place in the world. And nobody could understand why I wasn't doing it on my own. And I started to do a business plan and a business model and talk to Chris about it. So we collectively together were working on business plan and models for other companies that we were going to kind of go to and say, hey, this is what we can do and bring to your company to grow it in the Clarksville area. And she said, well, why don't we just try to do it on our own and, send it out to like her dad's a mentor. So we were able to send it to him so he could look through it and, really didn't have much input because he thought it was fantastic, what we had done. But, she said, let's just do it.
Well, I think about it as somebody who's run a big company, the same person that would be overqualified is the same person that needs to start the next business. Mm-hmm. And the marketplace needs that too, in that you need competition, you need new ideas, you need somebody that has lived it and can carry it on. A lot of these colleges, and I'm not against a college education, but a lot of these colleges, the professor has never actually done it. It's all in theory. And so y'all have a combination of both classroom study and then practical application for 30 combined years. And then now you're doing it on your own. And so I think you're better prepared to make less mistakes along the way and to not only provide for your customer, but also provide a quality place for people to work.
Yeah. Well, most of the time when you start a business, you've learned from somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you start somewhere else, you do it for somebody else, and then once you've outgrown where you are and you know that you can take it on yourself, that's when you blossom and you try. So it was really me being pushed out of my comfort zone to believe in myself that I could do it, because I was so scared to take that risk. And then once I realized that I had the backing that I had and the support that I had with everybody around me saying, you can do this, then I took a leap of faith, and here we are.
Well, and that is the difference between an entrepreneur and somebody that is going to stay an employee. And you have to get to that point where, and sometimes you still need a little bit of a push. And, you know, how God shapes that, how he pushes you, could be words of encouragement. It could be that support. It could be a season coming to an end. It could be a combination of things. But then you also have to be willing to seize that moment and say, I can control my own destiny. I can take action. And I love the fact that you ladies took the action together, and it was really kind of a catalyst between the two of you in order to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, if you were going to describe in your own words what makes your homes special at Homefront Builders, what would you say it is?
I think there's a few different things that make us special. One is the floor plans. They are very well thought out. They are designed to grow with you. So, you know, you start out, you're a single person, you're married, you have kids, you know, there's still space. There's always going to be an extra, you know, pantry, or we're just really trying really hard to make the floor plans special. So we have that going for us. The design, again, you know, the selections, we try to do things that are not being done by other builders, that are going to look really beautiful and not just your kind of builder grade, that type of thing. And I think the third thing is like the care that we put into the homes. We're doing frame checks. We're meeting the electrician out there. We're meeting the HVAC people out there. We're making sure that each part of the construction process is really followed up on. And so the quality is very high. We're not just throwing up houses and, you know, hoping for the best. You know, we want the quality to be super high. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit when you talked about the house. So for those that don't know, I mean, I built a custom home. You know, most people I think would start with a small one and then build up, and I didn't. I just went straight for the forever home. And it was incredibly grueling. 23 months from start to finish, from the time that I put a shovel in the ground, bought a traxavator, dug the hole myself, you know, a lot of the things. But it was grueling. And I can tell you that if I had it to do it all over again, it was a great experience in that I learned a lot. But I won't do it again.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that y'all have honed your craft is so vital to providing this not just a house, but a home for families, and having those spaces that are dedicated, like your mudroom, so that the mudroom's not supposed to be pretty. Now, it will be day one, but it's supposed to house the mess so that the rest of the house can be beautiful.
Exactly.
A laundry room is supposed to house the clothes that are going from a mess to clean, so that you don't see them all over the house. There are these little nuances that I think make a house much more livable. And so I love that about the spaces that you're creating. And you said something earlier, Carissa, that I think we need to take a moment and back up to, is you said you're not looking for designs that are a flash in the pan or that are trendy today, but it's a trend that you will love for a long time and not feel like you need to remodel in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really important to me because, you know, as someone that has 5 kids, I am going to be putting my money towards them. You know, I don't need to be tearing out cabinets, ripping up floors, doing all of this kind of stuff when I need to be focused on, extracurriculars, college, buying cars, that kind of thing. So for me, I want to build something that's going to be beautiful, but also that is not going to be beautiful just for 5 years. And then our buyers are left trying to figure out how to bring their home up to date now.
Yeah. And, I think that's critical in that, one of the things that I teach my son is we want to buy the nice things at the appropriate time and then take care of them so that they last a long time. Mm-hmm. You don't want to buy the cheap things over and over and over. You want to take care of it. And so I think you're building a house that's worth taking care of. Not that any of them are not, but, you've got good bones and it's well built, and the design aspects are not meant to get somebody from TikTok to come buy your house. It is really meant for you to make it livable and enjoy it for a long time.
Exactly.
So I think that's an incredible mission that you both share. Now, obviously, you came to this after a season had passed that you are both in for a long time, and that can knock the wind out of you. It really can. And, part of the spirit of the Charge Forward podcast is it's people that when they get knocked down, they charge forward. And I know we had talked a little bit before about how it took a while to kind of get your feet back underneath you and figure out the direction. So if you kind of will walk us through that process.
So for me personally, I am very blessed. I have parents that have never made me doubt myself. If the exact opposite, they've always empowered me and made me feel like I can accomplish absolutely anything. And so when I was in this kind of period of, okay, what's next? What am I going to do? It was like kind of a holding pattern, and then when I brought this idea to Amber, and then we were kind of talking through the business plan with my dad, because he's someone that I admire a lot. He was like, you guys need to go for it. He's like, this is a great plan. You need to. And so that was kind of the push that I needed. And then, of course, I have a super supportive husband who really, from day one of knowing him, has always been like, you can accomplish anything you want. Like, I believe in you. And he said that to me multiple times. Like, I really believe in you. And I think that whatever it is that you want to accomplish, you can do. So I think that was helpful for me in taking that next step, taking that big risk, because it is a risk to start a business, no matter how much experience you have. You can fail, but I think because of the people around us, we won't fail.
And our dad's a mentor for us and has helped us along the way, because he's a builder himself and has been in the building industry his whole life too. So Carissa kind of grew up in the industry with him, and he's a nationwide builder and out of country builder. So he's been a blessing for us to be able to bounce ideas off of and ask the best routes to go about things. And we send him our floor plans too with changes, and he's able to make comments and kind of give us some ideas until we hone in our floor plans to exactly what we're looking for. And we copyright all our floor plans, because when I started building in Clarksville 15 years ago, I brought all new floor plans to the table, and they were not copyrighted. They were either plans that I had found or possibly designed, and every other builder took off with them. And so the plans I brought to Clarksville are now thousands of them in Clarksville by all the other builders. And so that we did not want that to happen again this time. So all of our plans are specifically designed by us and copyrighted by us. So that way we are the only ones that can bring those to the table now.
I love that. I think that is incredibly important. And, I experienced that 21 years ago. So I was interested in a home and kind of had a little bit of a falling out with the builder, because they did some things that I would consider shady, in that I wanted to buy the house, but I wanted to finish the bonus room. And they came back to the table the next day and said, oh, we mismeasured the house. So the house is this much now, and the bonus room is this much on top of it. And I was in disbelief that could happen. But I went to another builder and said, hey, can you build this house? And it was in Clarksville. And with the one phone call, they were like, oh, yeah, we've got the plans. We'll send it over to you. Mm-hmm. And obviously he didn't call the other builder. Mm-hmm. I won't name names or who did that. But then lo and behold, I had the same house, but, with my flair on it. And so I think it's important to protect that intellectual property and to have your own style. We talked a little bit about Crookenberg, And, they built a beautiful home. And actually the foreman that built my first home went to work there. And, I thought, okay, well, great. I'll have them build my house. But they don't build basement homes. And that I was almost in disbelief. I thought he was messing with me. And I was like, no. I get it. We're in Pleasant View. And he goes, no, we'll build in Pleasant View, but we don't build basement homes. And I still thought he was messing with me. And I said, well, you built my last one. He goes, yeah, but I was at a different company. We don't build basement homes. And that's really when I decided to build my own. And so I do think that each builder, each company has its own, not just brand, but kind of feel. And I think it's important that people find the right feel for their taste or for the home that they want to create. And I think y'all bring something special to the table in regard to that.
Yeah. And when we started, that was one thing is there's a lot of good builders in Clarksville and the Pleasant View area. And there's a lot of builders that I even specifically work with, helping them hone in their floor plans and selections and things. And, we kind of bounce ideas off each other. And so there's some really good ones in Clarksville that I look up to. And, we knew coming into this, we don't want to create a new building company that does exactly what everybody else does. I mean, why? There's so many good ones already. We kind of didn't want to compete in that same market. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of wanted to bring something a little different where we're only going to do so many homes a year. We want to focus on our quality. We want to focus on our buyers. So, the past 15 years, I've been more production with over 100 homes a year. And I mean, you cannot hone in your quality that way. I don't care how many people, you employ or how many foremen you have. And it's just impossible to see your houses every single day or every single week. And so we had agreed to kind of keep it small, keep the quality there, do more spec home type custom houses, and really focus on the buyers and giving them the best product.
Yeah, I love it. And I do think that there's absolutely a market for what you ladies are doing, and it's already showing. I mean, you have how many spec homes currently?
So we have 5 spec homes, and we've already, even without anything finished in this company's name, we already have 3 pre-solds.
That's fantastic. And then you've got some. Is that the custom ones?
Yes. So the 3 custom pre-solds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so 8 homes under construction currently.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been in business. What? This is month 9.
Yes.
So averaging basically 1 a month.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then each one of our customs are all specifically designing their floor plans. Mm-hmm. And so anybody that builds with us, even if you're building more of a spec type house, we're still sitting down with you in a design meeting. We're still completely designing that floor plan. Even if you've picked one we've already built, we're still making those changes to make sure that we're fitting your needs.
Yeah. I love it. And you're bringing that experience that you have, that depth to that experience because, again, to use my own house as an example, Carissa, when we walked through there, I talked about if I had known ahead of time, I would have moved the office doors over a foot because they kind of get in the way of another door. And so it's the little things that if you don't have that depth in your experience that you'll miss, and it's not easy to undo those things.
Yeah. And those are the things that we kind of go over in the design meeting too. And a lot of times people in their mind think that they want something or they want it a certain way. And so we have, newer innovative programs that we use for design. So all of our stuff is designed in 3D. So I do all of the designs, all the programming, and we completely draw everything in a 3D program where you can walk through the house. We can put all of your color selections in the program. So it will show you your cabinet color, floor color, tile color, paint colors, everything. And so you can actually feel walking through the home. We put it on a big screen TV and let you, sit in front of it, walking through the house. And it's amazing to be able to see what you think in your mind is not what it actually is. And so this program lets you show that. And then we talk about different ways to make it happen to what you think you want.
So obviously they couldn't see my face as you were talking about that, but I'm ecstatic that is there and that you're doing that with clients, because there's nothing worse, I think, in envisioning it in your head, and then when you walk in, you're instantly let down. Mm-hmm. It's not the way you wanted it, or it didn't live up to those expectations. And I think a lot of times that's how people feel. And I think it's glossed over because there's so much to take in when you buy a new home, right? It's the difference in buying a piece of furniture or buying a home. In a home, there can be a lot of defects that you're not going to see until 6 months down the road because it's overwhelming. Whereas one piece of furniture, you're like, oh, there's a nick here. And there's, and so it really does, I think, allow you to make those mistakes before they're built and then undo them or correct them.
Yeah.
And
And
so-
that's the hardest thing, is building to people's expectations, because reality versus expectations aren't there. So we have an extensive meetings before we ever even sign contracts. Before we sign contracts, we're knowing what your floor plan is. You're knowing your price. We have set expectations on it is the good, the bad, and the ugly of building, because it is not easy. It's going to be very stressful for you. We set meetings throughout the build. So we were meeting you out there. We're explaining to you so you're not freaking out over what you're seeing on the job site. So we're there helping you through the process, doing the best we can to make it a joyful experience, because it's the most stressful thing you're probably going to do in your lifetime is build a house.
That's right. Well, and I think it's probably a love-hate situation with both that process as well as Pinterest.
Yes.
And that is one of the biggest things that I tell people when they come in. I said, listen, you can show me your Pinterest for inspiration. I can't recreate your Pinterest in the price range that you are purchasing your house. Because when you're on Pinterest, 98% of the time you are seeing multi-million-dollar homes. You're not seeing a $700,000 home. You're not seeing a $600,000 home. So to expect those finishes and that level of detail in the design is impossible. Like, it's just really not doable. And so I like to set that expectation. Again, like Amber said, expectation management is a very big part of this job. So I want you to know we are going to make it look beautiful. We are going to put in better than builder grade, but it's still not going to look like a $2 million home.
Yeah. And I do think that social media and Pinterest, for all the good things, there's also, it does sometimes set a false sense of how it's supposed to be. And, it'd be like, if I had a $2,000 car and I put a $10,000 paint job on it,
Right.
it's still a $2,000 car. And, so I can buy a fancy piece of whatever, and it may not look the same way in my house. And it's just because of the surroundings. It is not in that same setting. And, there again too, people, it's that instant gratification. It's the IKEA way versus, buying a piece that you're going to have refinished and, passed down to your kids. Those days are gone for most folks.
Yep.
Whereas I think you're striving for something that people will not want to leave.
Yeah. And we've learned from the past, because expectations in the past used to be, well, we build the same floor plans over and over. So if you want to see what your house is going to look like, just go walk another house, even though it doesn't have any of your selections or anything in it. Or you can see pictures from previous builds and you really didn't get an idea or expectation for your specific build. And so, that's kind of the only thing that people had to choose from in Clarksville, is to just buy a house that keeps being built over and over again. And that's the only way you're really going to see it. So, and then if you do custom, you really can't see what you're getting.
Yeah.
You see it on a kind of a 2D program, which is what I always used to use in the past. But now we're out of that, and we're getting to show people what their house is really going to look like.
That's great. I think the experience from start to finish of seeing your house be built and then walking in day one and then also living in it after that to see what mistakes you made or what you should have done differently or those types of things. I do think that that's a process that we go through as we grow up. So kudos to you all for using the latest and greatest technology and trying to circumvent, those pain points for folks. I think that's one of the things that really makes y'all different. Now we know where you're building and we know what type of home you're building. You're building, kind of spec plus some finishes and some individuality. What are you most excited about?
I think what I'm most excited about is serving our community and really giving them a better option. I have a lot of respect for Clarksville and the people who live there. It's accepted me as my home. I moved up from Franklin, and it was just, an immediate welcome. And so I really love the people, and I really want to offer them something that is different and that will make their lives easier, make living easier.
Yeah. And well, even down to the name. The name didn't happen by accident either. So if you will, give the listeners a little insight to behind the name of Homefront Builders.
So Amber and I are both military wives, and so and Clarksville's a military town, so we really wanted to kind of honor that. And the home front is traditionally looked at as where, you know, a soldier comes home to find like that refuge, you know, like just to be like comforted, and we really wanted to offer that to the soldiers and their families, and also non-military families as well. So it's just kind of that like jumping off point. Their home is the jumping off point for whatever incredible actions you're going to take. And that's kind of where we came up with the Homefront Builders, obviously, because we built.
There you go. Well, and both of you have expressed just how supportive your spouses are. And so I think that's a big piece to this. And, you know, most people, this was not by design, but most people that end up sitting in this podcast studio and coming on the show will agree that who you pick as your partner in this world, in this life, your spouse, is probably, and I say probably because I really want to say is, but we'll leave a little bit out there for some people, as the biggest decision that you will make, the most important decision you will make on the trajectory of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, having done it wrong the first time, I can tell you that when you're with the wrong person, it makes life a lot harder. And then when you're with someone that's supportive and kind and wonderful, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to do it without the support of my husband, my family, my sister. You know, I wouldn't have ever taken that leap. And your spouse has to be 100% with you, because when you start a business, you're giving it everything.
Absolutely.
Your finances, your house, yourself, everything that you own, and your time, you're putting it into this business. It's taking 100% to get it off the ground and to get it going. So if you don't have your spouse supporting you and doing that, I really don't see how it's going to work.
Yeah. Well, and I think for entrepreneurs, there's a natural point where you've kind of reached the pinnacle of what you're going to do for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And now it's time to do it for yourself.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm just happy that y'all reached that.
Us too, actually.
We got pushed into it, and then we accepted it.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of people that would have a self-doubt
Yep.
or a mindset that would keep them from doing that. And so I don't think that's by accident. I think it's partly because you have so many years of experience, mm-hmm. so you know what you're capable of. And then I think we talked once, and you said something to the effect of, I was asking people to take a chance on me, but I wasn't willing to take a chance
mm-hmm.
on me. And I think that is incredibly profound.
Yep. My motto is take a chance on yourself. Mm-hmm.
There you go. But it hasn't always been that way.
It has not.
That's
Nope.
great.
Mm-mm.
That's great. So I think it just continues to prove that we are constantly working to become the person we are supposed to be. And that takes effort.
Yep.
And that takes getting uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes being accountable. And a lot of people will try not to be any of those things.
Yep.
They want somebody else to blame for it. They don't want to blame themselves. And they are in this rut. They don't want to take that action. But, you know, that's everybody's individual choice,
Yep.
right?
And we say everything happens for a reason. And so, you know, it's, you know, building something for somebody else for so many years. And when that came to a dead end halt, and trying to figure out where to go from there, I mean, your whole life, my whole life completely changed around. And it was just trying to figure out where to go from there. And Carissa and I actually did our energy healing this past week, and kind of trying to help us center that confidence and trust and faith in ourselves, you know, because when you have that big of a difference in your life or change in your life, especially when it wasn't your idea to begin with, you know, it hits your confidence, your just faith and trust in everything else. And so it's been a challenge this past year to kind of get that back for me, for myself, to know, you know what, I've done this before. I've already built a business. I've already built one of the #1 businesses in Clarksville for somebody else. So I can do this for myself. And this time I'm going to do it for myself. And so, you know, for us and our families, and at least now she had told us, energy healer, you need to give yourself recognition and you need to accept recognition. And that's something I've never been good at. So I am working on that, because she's like, people look at you and think you're doing amazing things. And I have been successful and young on in my life, because I'd started young with doing designing and in architecture and building and stuff. But it's just very hard for me to accept. And so she's this energy healer is helping us bring it all together.
So I will say, if we were on stage, I would have just ran over, gave you a high five and a big hug. So for the listeners out there, what you may not know, I'm gonna share the story behind this. So Miss Carissa and Miss Amber came in a couple weeks ago, and we had I bought a brand new thumb drive in order to record this podcast on, and it failed. And so we got 1 minute and 48 seconds of their episode. But you were a different person today.
Yes.
So we're skipping ahead a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about health, because you sat in that seat and you were fine. You did everything that you needed to do to get through it. Today you were enjoying being in the studio. You were enjoying telling the story of you. So tell me, I am curious, what type of healing did we do? Like what? Please share.
It was pretty much for me letting go of the past. You know, she said a big part of me was still where I was before, because that was my whole life. You know, I put every single thing I had into something else for somebody else. And so she was pretty much like, get that back and put it in your business now, put it in your life now, and kind of let the negative energy go, let go the resentment that you have, you know, from everything that had went down, and focus on being happy and focus on having faith and confidence in yourself again, and trusting other people and trusting your inner circle.
I love it. That is fantastic. So I want to give you just another piece of advice there. And this is from Nick Hyder. So shout out to Nick, who owns this studio. But this hit home for me because, much like yourself, or both of you, my identity years ago was very attached to my job. I'm one of those people, like yourselves, that has a tough time differentiating between who I am and what I do.
Yes.
And I think he said it very eloquently on a podcast where he said, you should be building your personal brand that your companies spin off of. And then that way, on the day, because you will eventually sell Homefront Builders, I have no doubt that one of these days somebody's going to come along and make you a very attractive offer, and you will have put a lot of heart and soul into growing that company into an amazing company. Not that it's not already, but somebody will pay you enough money to go retire. And the reason I think it's important to build your personal brand and then your company is off of that is so that you have something left. You didn't sell yourself, or yourself didn't get taken away.
Well, everything else will thrive if you work on yourself.
That's look at you. I mean, we got one session here, and
the guru over here.
I'm telling you, that's fantastic. So let's take a divergence just a little bit. And let's go ahead and talk about health. So, Carissa, I see you at the gym all the time.
That's Carissa, not me.
When your husband's at the gym all the time.
He is a personal trainer and a real estate agent. He's in the gym every morning at either 4 or 5 o'clock, and I am snoring up a storm.
That's right. And from what I understand, he's like jacked.
Yes, he is jacked.
And then, Carissa, you just had a baby.
I did, yeah, 8 weeks ago.
8 weeks ago, and y'all were in the studio 2 weeks ago. So just 6 weeks ago, you were in the studio ready to do this. But, you know, there's a lot of people that would make a lot of excuses. And I know I was talking to Sylvia, and she said she's supposed to get cleared by the doctor today so that she'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah, for the gym. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I had an emergency C-section, and this is my 5th baby. I've never had a C-section before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I think because I am very health conscious, nutrition conscious, I was able to recover pretty quickly from that. So I was able to, right at the 6-week mark, be back in, which was good for my mental health, to be honest.
Right. Well, and that stems from your mom, right? There's you got some familial encouragement on health.
Definitely. My mom has always been very health conscious. Like even growing up, I never ate food from a box or a package or anything like that. That's definitely my mom's influence. And I've carried that forward with my kids. And, you know, she's an exerciser. She takes supplements, you know, she's very into all that. So, that's been very helpful in the beginning of my journey. I was, to be honest with you, kind of a reluctant learner, you know, like when I was 16, I was like, why are we doing all this? What's wrong with Arby's, you know? And then as I got older, I realized the value in what she had been doing and now do it for my own kids. And I fully expect my 16-year-old to be like, why are we doing all this? What's the harm in Sonic or whatever, you know? But I think once you lay that foundation, it's very easy to come back to. And so I definitely feel that that's benefited me.
Well, I think just in general, part of adolescence is trying to push the limits and see what else is out there. But if you've built this strong foundation of understanding what you put into your body is medicine, whether you like it or not, good medicine or bad medicine. And it is easier for them to understand that when they hear these things or when they see these things later in life. You know, one of the things that I can't stand personally is school lunches.
Yeah, I actually just took my younger kids off of school lunch and did home lunch. It's kind of hard. I have a lot going on, and so packing lunches was something I was like, all right, we're gonna let the school feed them. It's not that bad because they go to a private school, so the lunches are a little bit better than, you know, the cafeteria slop, you know. But I kind of was noticing they started getting dark circles. They started acting out a little bit, and they're 3 and 4, so they're very sensitive to changes like that. So we just kind of switched to home lunch, and I've seen an improvement.
Oh, it's night and day. And you know, my son is a little bit older. He turns 11 this month, and you know, he's there at CrossFit with us. You know, it goes 3 days a week, basketball, all the things. He's very active. And you know, growing up, just total transparency, I was the fat kid. You know, I was 115 pounds in kindergarten, if you can imagine that. And so the majority of my adult life, I was 300 pounds. And it wasn't until I turned 40 and had just kind of a revelation of a couple things happened all in one day that should have been exciting and ended up just being this rude awakening. And I'm so thankful for it. But I knew I had to get my life on track from a health perspective. I was very successful in the business world, but not only did I look terrible on the cover of the business journal, but you know, I was showing my kids the wrong direction. I was leading my family in the wrong direction. So kudos to you, because I mean, people will find all types of excuses, but here you are. You sit in the studio, you own your own business, you have a partner in another business, so you're doing all those things. Plus, you have 5 kids,
5 children,
5 children, and your husband has a crazy job.
Yeah.
You know, he's out there fighting for us here on the home front, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a million people that would come up with 8 million excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have excuses or you can have results, as they say. And I'm not even talking from a physical standpoint. Obviously, I just had a baby. That's not my main focus right now. Right now, I'm talking about mental health. You know, if I can't do something physical for my mental health, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
So I do really appreciate that aspect of, you know, the exercise portion. And then it does help with, you know, following a nutritious, I hate the word diet because, you know, like how bad has our actual what we're eating become in this society where it's like, I'm eating fruits and vegetables and meat and that's a diet, you know, like that should just be how you eat, and you can have a little treat, you know, like I love ice cream. I'm not going to tell you that I don't eat ice cream, but I don't eat ice cream every day.
Well, and I will say I'm the opposite in that I can't. I need to be very strict. So, you know, I'm on, I think, day 80 today of basically animal based. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like carnivore, except I do allow a couple, you know, every once in a while a vegetable, every once in a while a fruit. Mm-hmm. I do like cottage cheese, you know, a couple things like that. But, you know, I'm down 30 plus pounds but it's a decision. Mm-hmm. And obviously everybody around you is like, oh, you know, that's not good for you. There's plenty of naysayers when you're on this path of improving your health or your kids' health, you know, and everybody's like, oh, it's fine. Just, you know, let them eat at school. My son is so particular about it. He wanted to just for a social aspect. He wanted to start eating breakfast at school 2 days a week, and I was like, "No problem, buddy. You do it. That's totally fine. It's not the end of the world." And he came home, and the next day he goes, "Dad, can I take a couple of eggs with me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Do what?" And he goes, "Well, they won't let me get extra egg." And he goes, "Honestly, their eggs are not great anyway. So I'm going to get a sausage and biscuit. But what if I just go ahead and take 2 or 3 extra eggs with me?" So he gets up in the morning, scrambles his eggs,
Oh my gosh.
throws them in a Ziploc bag, and he's off to the races.
No.
That's hilarious.
So-
I love it.
But it is about what kind of foundation we provide to them, and what's going to change the direction of their life. Now, obviously, you had that health thing in the background with your mom, and then, both of you have expressed that this positive energy from your families and your spouses gave you the courage, the spirit, the idea that you could go and do this. What advice would you give to other parents out there that want to instill that same type of confidence, not false confidence, but that belief that they can go and do anything?
Well, I'll go first. I'll say one of the biggest things I try to teach my kids, and I think I've done a pretty good job actually. My 16-year-old said something to me the other day, but we'll circle to that through this little story here. I try to teach them that I don't want can't to be part of their vocabulary. You can say, I don't know how yet. I'm learning. I'm going to get there. But I don't ever want to hear the word can't come out of your mouth. And I used to say that. And my daughter, who's now 16, used to roll her eyes at me when she was, 7, 8, 9. And she's a cheerleader. And she'd be like, well, I can't do a tuck. I can't do. And I said, and she goes, I don't know how yet. Like that whole thing. And there's a thing in the cheerleading world called like a tumbling block, and it's where these kids decide they can't do a skill anymore. And I will say that my daughter is a world's level athlete, which means kind of the tip top of where you can be. Her team was 5th in the entire world last year. She has never had a tumbling block because that's never been part of her vocabulary. And I swear that's why it is. And so I say that to my other kids now that are younger, the same exact thing. Your mental is everything. If you tell yourself you can't, you can't. Because your brain, what you're inputting into your own mind leads to the outcome. You can choose what you're inputting.
Absolutely. 1,000%. I love that mentality. And again, I think this circles back to, I'm not labeling you a super mom, but you're not far off of that. if there was a classification, if we could check boxes, because it's not like her cheerleading competition or her practice is around the corner. You drive over an hour each way, right?
That's right, I do. I'm a crazy person.
Every day.
Every day. And so 5 kids were doing school lunches. You got 2 companies to run. You got one that you got to travel an hour each way to get her to and from practice, plus competitions and all the things. And there's plenty of people out there with one or none that say that they can't because they got some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't like excuses, I don't really, that's not part of me. And that's probably partly because I was raised that way too. I have 2 parents who have been wildly successful in their lives and have created amazing things. My mom, there wasn't a school that existed for my brother. He was an athlete and he was a hockey player. There wasn't a school that existed that fit his needs. So she started a school. Now it's a huge school in where I'm from. My dad started a construction company, builds houses all over the place now. So I think from the very beginning I was given this example, and that's what I want to give to my kids too. They deserve to have everything that I was given.
Well, I heard somebody say this the other day, and it was, would you be okay or would you be excited if your child at your age ended up with a life just like yours? And if not, then get busy about it today, creating a life worth aspiring to. Mm-hmm. And, really and truly, that's some of the best advice I ever got from my business coach. So big shout out to Chris Weinberg over at Well Coached and Nashville City Club. So Chris told me one day, because I was always worried about driving too nice a car or something like that, because I had 500 employees. And so I drove a 2008 before that, 2004. And pretty well almost every employee that we had drove a nicer car than I did. And I remember I bought a Lincoln pickup from him. And it was immaculate because, it was never going to not be just perfect if he drove it. And he stopped by the office one day and he goes, "Where's the truck?" And I said, "Well, it's at the house." And he said, "Why are you not driving the truck?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to give that kind of presence around here." And he goes, "Jim," he goes, "if you're not living a life worth aspiring to, then why would you think that these people would follow you?" And the same goes for our kids. Like, are you living the life that you should be? And I'm not saying that any of us are perfect. We are not. But we have the ability to get better every single day. And I think people lose sight of that, or they lose the accountability to that. And so kudos for all of those things that you're doing there. I want to know from each of you, what is the most fun or most amazing experience you've ever had in your life?
You have a lot more than I do.
I have had a lot of really cool experiences. I think because I really like to just jump on opportunities as they come up. I think I'm ADHD, so I can switch gears very easily, and I have done that many times in my career and life. I worked for a nonprofit, and so I got to travel to all different countries, going to schools and working with kids, and that was amazing. I loved that. We went to a little tiny island called Tuvalu in the South Pacific, and you could put your foot at one point in the island. It's so narrow. You can put your foot on both sides of the ocean and stand there. And it was incredible. That was super fun. I loved that. I then transitioned and I was a country music artist. And so I got to go on tour, got to open for some people who I consider fantastic artists. I got to work with people who are now names that you would recognize if I said them. And I really loved doing that. And now I just try to bring passion with everything that I do. I think that's what makes life fun. Fun is a very motivating factor for me. It has to be fun or I don't want to do it.
In a roundabout way, she has brought her family dynamic that she's following in her dad's footsteps and her family's footsteps. So, she's done all these things, but she's still circled back to being in the building industry where she came from.
Yeah.
Well, because she saw an opportunity where she thought this could be that adventure. And you probably stayed out of building before that, or at certain points in your life where you could have easily gone into the family business. You didn't, because you didn't see how that could be the adventure.
Yeah, exactly. I think I never wanted anything to be handed to me. I always wanted to show that I was worthy of what I had worked for. And so I think that is what kept me out of doing the family business, because I didn't want it to be like, well, that's Ryan's daughter, so that's why he has that job. And so, I think by partnering with Amber, who we are very yin and yang, we work so well together because we are so different in how our minds work, and so I think by partnering together, that did create that new adventure and a new challenge to overcome.
Yeah. And we have completely different design aspects of kind of what we like. And so Carissa brings those things out of me too, that I normally, I'm kind of about 2 years behind trend. I see a new trend and I'm like, I'm not sure about that. And about 2 years later, I'm loving it just when it's kind of going out. And so Carissa keeps me in the know and keeps me in the new. And that's kind of where my husband actually brought her to me about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
She was pregnant with her second child at the time. And so he kind of brought her to me and said, hey, there's this girl that I met, at our real estate stuff. And I think she would be fantastic. And her dad's been in building. She's a designer. And, running and building the business I did before, I was really busy. And so I love designing. I love picking colors. And I did that for many years. But I didn't have time to really go out and figure out what the new styles were, what we needed to change. Because when we pick a style for a house, it's not coming out for 6 more months, and so we kind of have to keep in that future what's coming out in the future. And so I had hired Carissa at that point to do that for me, 5 years ago. And then here we are today. So she she's keeping Homefront Builders in line with, making sure we're staying on trend like she had talked about earlier and staying in those new styles.
I love it. Amber, what about you? What's the most fun thing, business or other, that you've ever done?
I don't know. I had a lot of fun in my teens, and probably wouldn't be appropriate for today's world with cameras and all that. But after that, it was just really constant work. I met my husband, and then when I met my husband now, we had really living a rock star life at that point. So a lot of fun just going on like Kid Rock cruises and going to concerts and going to sporting events and stuff. And so then COVID hit and we kind of, had a stop to our rock star life. And now I like staying at home.
Okay. All right. It's all about growth. It's all about figuring out what's next. Now, this is where we have a little bit of fun with the show. And so this is the section called Things We Think But Do Not Say. So we're not trying to get anybody canceled here, but what's something out there that, is just an absolute truth or that you firmly believe in that a lot of people will gloss over or say is not important?
I think for me, and I guess this is evident because I have 5 children, but I think that it's kind of taboo to say that your family is the most fulfillment that you're going to feel. I think that we're supposed to really glorify our careers. We're supposed to really think about the outside version of ourselves as opposed to what we are at home and who we're supporting and growing and teaching at home. I think it's very common in culture now to be like, well, just, you send your kids to school, you kind of let them grow up like that. And I feel that I want to be a big influence in my kids' life. I don't want all of this outside stuff to determine who they're going to be. And I think that that's a little bit, risque to say because we're kind of supposed to fall in line with the society and the system. And I feel that I don't really believe that.
Yeah, well, I'll piggyback on that, and I'll be just a little bit less nice about it. So parents out there, it is your fault. Good, bad, or ugly. The bar that you set, what you allow in your home, what the example that you lead is what they're going to pick up. Don't blame the school system. Don't blame somebody else out there. It is up to you. You had the child. Now it's up to you to make sure they're the best version they could possibly be. So care about them enough to become the person to lead them. Okay? Don't blame it on anybody else. Sorry, had to get on my soapbox there for a second. Amber?
I guess it's don't think that your job is more important than your family. And so I've had to learn that the hard way because I gave my all into something that didn't give its all back. And at the end of the day, when you end up with nothing, your family's the one that's still there. And you are replaceable, even if you're replaced with 3 to 5 people. You're replaceable. And so make sure that you're giving your family the time and the effort that they deserve. And maybe that means not giving your job for somebody else 100%. Yeah. Maybe given 90. It's okay to not work 24/7 for somebody else to make sure that their company is running perfectly when your family's suffering.
Yeah. I think it's important. And, I much like your experience, I've been through that. And the advice I would give people is to allot the time consciously. Mm-hmm. Don't accidentally give it all to your job so that there's nothing left for your family. And, there's always going to be some give and take. There's always going to be, there are more spokes to you than just 1 or 2. But it's about you consciously taking ownership of that and deciding what piece you're willing to sell. Yep. And that's the way I always looked at it. And that's why I always took it very personal, is because I traded my time for money. Mm-hmm. And so I was willing to trade a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money. And the older I got and the more skilled I got, the larger the amount had to be for me to trade for. Mm-hmm. And I knew what I was giving up at home. And so, if nothing else, that's something I think people should do consciously. Yep. So wonderful. Thank you for both sharing that. Now, I know you've both shared that you had mentors throughout. Who have you mentored?
Who have we mentored?
Mentored
Who has mentored
or
us?
spoken into or helped along the way. There's no way that you've been in this business 30 combined years and you haven't shared some of your wisdom.
Well, I feel like anybody that has been employed under me or that I have worked with, I have mentored.
Yeah.
And if you speak to anybody that has worked with me in the past or that has been an employee, they will tell you I am not just a boss. I am a therapist. I am a leader. And, I tell them how it is. I'm a straight shooter. I'm a straight person. If they come to me and they're whining about something, I'll be like, well, what did you do? And I don't tell them what they want to hear. Same with my husband. He tells his people, he's like, my wife keeps me accountable. If I get up and I start complaining about something, she'll put me in my place, and so I'm big into leadership and not being a boss. And I'm 100% about lifting people up, encouraging them. And I'm the kind of person that will pretty much kind of demand that you give everything you can to fulfill your potential. And everybody that's worked for me has always rose up. They've, always gotten a lot better underneath working for me. And so I don't really know of many people that haven't enjoyed working with me. And so I try to mentor everybody that I come in contact with, really.
I love that.
I mean, I can speak to that. I worked for Amber. Amber was my mentor at one point, and that's, I mean, obviously I liked her enough that we're here.
Yeah.
No, but I, definitely agree with what Amber's saying. Like, I was definitely better for having worked with her and for her. On a personal level, I feel that I have been blessed with the opportunity to kind of pour into people who are a little bit younger than me. So back in the day, I had a nanny who would take care of my daughter when I would go on the road. And I would, she would come to me with questions and life advice kind of stuff. And I felt like I was able to act almost like an older sister and give her some advice. And now she's like, not because of me, of her own volition, she is doing amazing. Like, I love seeing where she is, and she's a mom, and she's such a fantastic mom, and I love watching that. And then a couple years ago, I had some boys from Kennedy's cheer team come into my life who needed kind of a role model parent figure, and we actually hired them onto the company that we were working for at the time as kind of like the boys that have to do all of the work no one else wants to do. Yeah. They had to pick up the lots and clean the houses and that kind of stuff. And one of them in particular was very receptive to both what I was trying to teach him and also what our foreman was trying to teach him. And to see where he is today, like, it could make me cry, honestly. I am so proud of him and the life that he came from. He came from just a really horrible circumstance, and he has turned it 100% around. He is 180 from where he was then. And I think that's partly from working for Amber and partly from him wanting something different for himself and me just I think what I do is I bring a vibe. Like, I'm a positive person. I'm like, you can do this. You can accomplish this. And he'll still, to this day, text me or call me and say, I think I'm going to do this. What do you think about it? I'm like, you got this, buddy. Like, you can totally do this. And that's kind of my personality.
No, absolutely. And people need those types of people in their life. They need the people that will tell them the truth. Because there's so many people, they think they're doing somebody a favor by telling them the lie that makes them feel better. Well, you're not helping me improve when you do that. You're just saving your own feelings. It's really a very selfish thing. And then you kind of helping him change his mindset that he could do. And somebody would give him an opportunity, but it was up to him to turn that opportunity into something while others may squander it. Performance really does matter. And, people that listen to this podcast, they'll hear me say that over and over. And I hope one of these days it sinks in. Performance matters if we're going to hold ourselves accountable to becoming the best versions of ourselves. And so kudos to both you ladies for pouring into other people, because that's what it takes. We're all a summation of the people that have poured into our lives, good or bad. Some people teach us the things not to do. And then it's up to us to make those decisions as to what we want to what path we want to go.
And we're big into charities too in Clarksville. And so, if anybody's listening to this and has, charities that they want people to be involved with, reach out to us and let us know. We're big into anything military, charity-wise, battered women's shelters, anything with kids. And so we sponsor a lot of events and then make sure that we network and show up for those and really support the community.
I love that. And I think it speaks to your brand too. It's what you are about. So what would you say is one thing, and it could be something we've talked about already, or it could be something totally different, that you would give advice to somebody that's listening today that they could take and they could plug into their life in order to make their life better or to change their direction?
Believe in yourself is my biggest thing. And that's what I had to learn last year. That was my biggest learning lesson, was I was okay going out and doing this for somebody else again because I didn't believe in myself to do it. Be your own encouragement too. It's great to have encouragement from around you, but be your own cheerleader, be your own encouragement, believe in yourself, push yourself, and just every day it's build that confidence. And I'm still with my energy healer. We're still working on that, building my confidence back because, she had asked me, are you the same person you were a year and a half ago? And I was like, no, I was the most confident person I knew a year and a half ago. I had built this amazing thing. I was in, my mid 30s or late 30s. And then I'm, and pretty successful early on. I started to be successful in my mid 20s. And so, I had all this confidence, but for some reason I didn't have the confidence when I was alone by myself to do this. And so, you really have false confidence to me if you don't really have it in yourself to do it alone.
Well, I think, the older I get, the more I believe that nothing happens on accident. Everything happens for you.
Yes.
Not to you, but for you. And I believe that the person you're becoming, you had to go through that. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go around it. You had to go through it. You had to have that taken away from you so that you could reset and you could build the person that you were supposed to be.
And I feel like it's a stepping stone. Like I said, if you are opening your own business, it's probably because you've done this for somebody else and now you feel like you can do this for yourself. And so, it was a long stepping stone for me, but it was a stepping stone and it got me to the point where I know I can do this.
Yeah. Awesome. Carissa?
I think I'm kind of going to piggyback off of Amber's a little bit, but I think that my advice would be just go for the thing that you want to go for. Take the first step. You don't necessarily know what it is. You don't know all of the steps you're going to have to take to get from A to B, but just go for it. Do it. Do it scared. Do it however it is that you have to take that leap of faith.
Even if you have a setback.
Even if you have a setback or many setbacks.
Many setbacks.
Because the path will become clear. If you keep working, you can't expect that it's going to be always 2 steps forward. It's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. It's never going to be a linear shot to success. And so just taking that first initiative is all that you can do.
Yeah.
As I take it one day at a time, there's a lot of hurdles to climb when you're starting a new business. I think no matter what kind of business you're starting, there's always those hurdles. And if I look in the future and see all the hurdles at one time, I start to panic.
Sure.
And, and I'm like, what are we doing? How are we going to accomplish this? But if I take it one day at a time and I'm like, okay, we need to get over this one hurdle first. Let me just worry about this one today. And the minute I'm done with that one, then let's go to the next one. And so that's been helping one day at a time, as long as we're moving forward. We had some hurdles in the beginning, just slow rolling because we're waiting on other people. And, Chris and I talked to her, if we're just moving forward, if we look at the end of the week and say we've moved even a small step, then we're happy.
That's right. You have to figure out how to stay committed. Mm-hmm. How to realize, even though you haven't achieved the goal yet, you are a day closer or you're a step closer. Mm-hmm. Those types of things. And I love the fact that after some healing, your piece changed from last podcast to this one. And Carissa, yours was the same. In fact, you even said, "Do it scared." And I really honed in on that last time, because confidence does not come before the action. Confidence comes after the action. When you can remember that you were triumphant, you can remember that you won. And so sometimes we have to lean in on past wins in order to get the courage to do it scared and to overcome the next thing. So
Yeah.
I
And
love that.
I mean, to kind of circle back to your talk about health, like that is one of the lessons that I've learned from working out, from going to the gym. Motivation is not always there. It's the consistency. And that's part, you can apply that lesson into your life too. You know, you may not feel like doing this every day, but if you show up every day, you're going to get somewhere.
That's right.
And, you know, and just breaking it down into the steps.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Well, and so this is where we have a little bit of fun. And so we're going to build a bowling team. Each of you have a bowling team. You need 5 players, so it'd be 4 and yourself. And this is going to be for a charity event. We're going to try to get as many people on this planet to tune in and watch it and be excited right along with us. And so who is going to be on your bowling team?
So we had the commentator, so I would like I like funny. I want to laugh and I want to have a great time. So I picked Will Ferrell for my commentator.
That's right. That's right.
And then I picked on my players is Adam Sandler, Kevin Hart, Travis Kelce, and I didn't have my third one picked, but I wouldn't mind. I don't know. Who else is funny?
I mean, there's so many funny people out there. I don't know.
Who's the other guy from Step Brothers?
Oh, yeah. What's his name? He's so funny.
John?
Yeah, C. Riley. John C.
Yep,
Riley.
so then, yes.
He would be great.
Yep.
Okay.
Him and Will Ferrell would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Carissa, yours has a crossover. Will
Yeah.
Ferrell's going to have to do double duty.
He
is. Yeah, Will Ferrell's definitely on my team because I also want to have Vince Vaughn because I also like funny, and just the ping pong there
Yeah.
I think would be great.
Okay.
And then I would like to have Mark Wahlberg because I'd like to look at him.
That's fair.
And then The Rock, just because, I mean,
Look at him, too.
also look at him, and also he's funny.
Well, and I want to see him throw a bowling ball.
Yeah, I mean, he might dent the floor,
I
you know? Like,
don't know how that's going to go.
I don't know how it's going to go. And for commentator, I would really like Snoop Dogg because
How
the
could you go wrong?
Olympics.
I mean, you can't go wrong there.
He was so good. Who knew he could talk about horses, you know? But
And a master at rebranding himself
yeah, right.
as himself.
Yes.
If you look at his entire career, yes, he's evolved, but he always figures out how to play himself. Mm-hmm. And even in the Olympics, he's making mega bucks, but who cares? He got so many people engaged in the Olympics that were otherwise checked out. So again, not that Snoop Dogg's watching, but man, Snoop, you can come hang out. You can come be on the team. You can commentate, whatever you want to do. You're welcome on the Charge Forward podcast any day. All right, now this is another fun one. In 2 truths and a lie, and I'm going to try to figure out which one is the lie.
Okay, I guess I'm going first. Well, it's hard because we did this before.
That's true.
So I already
You
had
can do
my
the same
lie.
ones. I will try to act like I don't know.
Okay, let's go with that because I thought they were pretty good.
That works.
Okay, so first fact would be that when my car is on empty, I have to go fill up immediately. I can't let it go below a quarter of a tank. That's just not something that I can do. The second one would be that I really love meal planning and making food for my family every single night. I love cooking from scratch, and that's a big passion for me. And the third would be that I can't think of it. I can't think of another thing to tell you about myself. I have traveled all around the world, and I speak 3 languages.
Ooh, that one is different.
That is.
Yeah, I
different.
thought I'd change it up for you.
Man, so I can't even fib on this one because, literally, it fits your personality, and I love it. It's the first one is the lie because you ran out of gas the day before you came last time.
Yeah, I ran out of gas on the way to the gym.
Within sight, right?
Well, within sight of a gas station.
Yeah. I love it.
It was right there.
Which she wasn't supposed to say because she didn't want her husband to know.
Yeah, but now he's going to know. It's fine. It's okay. He's told me before, he's like, listen, you do this all the time. and I will come and I will help with the kids, but I'm going to leave you to figure it out on your own about the gas.
Well, and it just shows that the world is not a bad place, that there are a lot of great people out there, because if memory strikes me correctly, you had two of the little ones with you.
I did.
Strapped one on your back and strapped one in the front carrier, and you were headed down the road. And was it a doctor that stopped by?
Yeah. There's a doctor on his way too. We have a TOA in Clarksville, and I like when I tell you, and I know what 500 meters is because we have to run at the gym.
That's right.
I was not even 500 meters from a gas station, and so I was like, I'm just gonna walk there. I'll get a gas can. It's fine. And he was like, absolutely not. I am going to do that for you. And it was super kind of him, and yeah, it definitely made my day.
You remember his name?
Yes, I did. Scott, Dr. Scott, a TOA. And I actually the other day dropped off, some energy drinks and stuff because I'm a kind of perceptive person. Before I was going to let a stranger help me, I was scoping out the situation. I noticed, a certain brand of energy drink and protein drink in there. So I just picked up a couple of those, dropped them off at TOA. And I was like, thanks for brightening my day. Hope this makes yours,
Man, that's awesome. That, again, it's just good people doing good things for other people. And that's fantastic. So big shout out to Dr. Scott out there at TOA. Thank you for helping Miss Carissa.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Miss Amber.
Okay. All right. I knew I wanted to be an architect or builder since I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
I used to be a race car driver.
Okay.
And my favorite music is rap music.
Just because it is so bold, I'm gonna go with the lie is the race car driver.
And the truth is the race car driver.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
which one of the other ones was wrong then?
I do like rap music, but it is not my favorite. I like
Okay.
all music, but rap is not my favorite.
Okay, all right.
My husband used to rap a long time ago,
So-
which is really funny if you watch it.
It is very funny.
It's very funny. But he's big into the rap music and would show me things, and I'm like, what are you watching?
So what did you race?
So back in my high school days and out of high school, I had a lead foot. And so my best friend and her family raced, and then the guy I was dating raced, and he raced for Best Western. And so I kind of got into it then and, was big into racing. My whole bedroom was NASCAR. Everything about my life was cars and racing. I was pulled over all the time. I could have said I lost my license probably 4 or 5 times. And like I said, I had a great fun time in high school when I was younger.
Who are you? You're not the same person that came in here last time.
No.
Like, stay with this spiritual thing. I love it. It's fantastic. We need more of it. So I love that. All right. So here's the big question. How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who was just really loving and kind and compassionate and kind of like brought the fun to the situations. I would like to be remembered like that. I don't have any lofty aspirations on how I want to be remembered to the public or the world or anything like that. But I want my family and friends to just be like, we always had a good time when Carissa was around, and we always knew she was going to take care of us. And that's the most important thing to me.
That's incredibly fantastic. I couldn't have summed that up about you any other way.
Well, thank you. I guess I'm on track.
There you go. Miss Amber?
I just want to be looked at as honest and respected woman who kind of gave it her all. And I want to be the kind of person that people can look up to. And I love going and speaking at places and teaching people and kind of encouraging them to build their personal life, build their work life, build their business, anything that I can help with. And so I'm always here to encourage. And so I want people to be able to look at me and say, I really respect what she did, and I want to aspire to be able to do that also. And so the bigger we grow as a company, the more people that we want to help. And so we really want to be looked at as, these women came into our life and really helped us and had donated to these charities that have really made a difference in the community. And so not only are we big in the Clarksville community, but also in the Pleasant View community. And we build all the way from like Dover, Tennessee and lake houses all the way up to, you know, North Nashville. And so anywhere in between, we really want to bring that to these communities. And I just really want to be well respected, because I look at the builders and the other people in my life that I really respect, and I aspire to be like them. They treat their employees fantastic. They treat their people fantastic. They donate all this money to all these, you know, charity events that we go to. And I'm like, that's what I want to be.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it speaks to exactly what you're building there at Homefront Builders. And so if somebody wants to work with you ladies, if somebody is ready to build their forever home or ready to build their next home where they can raise their family, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can give us a call at 931-221-2566. You can go to our Facebook, which is Homefront Builders TN for Tennessee, and we post a lot of stuff on Facebook and content, and I think we're going to be posting something about the good, the bad, and the ugly of building too, and, you know, kind of showing the what I call kind of bloopers of building. And we just had one this past week that'll be great to go film, and I think we're going to go film that this week and kind of show, look, don't freak out when things go wrong, when, you know, contractors do something wrong, and so kind of just watch our content on Facebook. And then we've got a website at homefrontbuilderstn.com to go to. Right now it's password protected, but we'll be taking that off here shortly.
Okay, that's fantastic. Any asks or anything for listeners out there?
Just that even if you just want to get a feel of what we do, don't hesitate to call us. You're not put under the thumb. We're not going to blow you up if you call and ask a question about building, if you want advice about it. And even if we can't help you as a builder, we will 100% point you in the right direction. We will let you know who we think good builders are that can help you, who contractors are that can help you. If you just want a house designed, we can help you. Even if you find another builder, Carissa can help you do interior design, even if you don't build houses with us. And so we have kind of those other businesses that we're working with. So yeah, don't hesitate to call, and we'll give you all the advice we can. We don't hold anything in.
Yeah, and even if you want to do existing, you know, we both have our real estate licenses, so we want to be like a one-stop shop for you. If you want something with a house, you can come to Homefront Builders. We will either build it, find it for you, or sell it to you. You know, like we just want to be here and serve people. That's at the core of who both of us are, is serving people.
I love it. And thank you so much for coming in and sharing that on the Charge Forward podcast. I do think you both embody the spirit of what we're trying to do here, and that's to share amazing stories and amazing people that are doing amazing things to support their communities and to bring value to the marketplace. And I think you both absolutely embody that.
So we appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, team, you heard it here on the Charge Forward podcast. If you were looking for a home, if you're looking to remodel, if you're looking for some ideas, if you're looking to maybe build or buy any of those things, don't hesitate to reach out to Miss Amber or Miss Carissa at Homefront Builders. You have their phone number. There'll be links in the show notes. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. They are absolutely fantastic, and they will treat you and your family as if you are family. Until next time, continue to charge forward. Team, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Charge Forward podcast. Look forward to other amazing guests, and until next time, I'm your host, Jim Cripps. Special thanks, as always, to Nick Hyder and the creative team at Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Special thanks to our sponsors, Sense Custom Development and Charge Forward Solutions. Please be sure to like and subscribe.